I'm probably gonna have to switch it over. Then. Did you get my message? I knew it was kind of late yesterday. Did you get my message by chance? It's no
Not
big deal.
via eLearn, and I do not have anything in my email inbox. So
It's
the
okay.
answer is no.
Some of the features on Inventor aren't working for me, like the chamfering. It'll let me do a basic chamfer, but when I go to put the degrees in, it says that I can't do that. And then also, I can put regular holes in, but when I try to do it like a threaded hole, or I think it was like what was it called? The 10/32 UNF 2B.
Right? Yeah.
I can't. It won't let me use any of that stuff. It's showing me other things to use, but it's not giving me all the options. So it's like some of the features aren't working for some reason.
Okay.
On
Uh,
top, on top of that as well, like I'll be in the middle of doing a part, like I was working on sheet 5. It's the main base of the arbor press,
mhm.
and it just when I'm about halfway through before I extrude it or anything, my computer just keeps freezing. Like the whole thing freezes up.
Well, the freezing part, freezing part sounds like a memory thing, or there's too many things going on in the background. However, the easiest way to check and repair Inventor is actually to go to and you can do this after our little get together here today. But you go under apps in the Microsoft Windows settings area, and when you click on Inventor, it'll allow you to repair the settings. And so once you choose repair, you can do reinstallation and repair. So you can try repair first, test it out, and if it doesn't work, then you can do a reinstall through the same process.
Okay.
There could be a module that's missing, or you want to make sure that there's enough hard drive space.
I was gonna go ahead today and go get some kind of memory because I was thinking maybe that was the reason why it was
So how
crashing
much
on me and stuff.
so how much computer memory does your computer have?
It had more than what it needed until I started using it. Once I started building the parts, it like got filled up and
Well, there's two types of memory. There's obviously the RAM memory that operates the computer, but then there's the storage memory. And so if you've got not enough storage memory, that can cause a similar issue. RAM memory, you want to have 8 MB. You can check that under the settings area again inside Windows to see what your current properties are.
I'm trying to pull it up right now while we got a second.
Yeah.
You know what it's under? I don't really look for that kind of stuff. Let's see.
And let me.
System maybe.
Oh, hang on. It'll be under System. I'm just looking to see if I can find it.
Oh, here we go. Storage.
Well, there's storage, and that tells you how much space is available on your individual drives.
It says I got on. Well, that's just Windows C. I see what you're saying. Under Windows C, I've got almost 900 gigs left.
Okay, well then you're fine. Then the next thing is memory. And if you click on the very bottom of that list under settings, there's an about button, and on the about button, it'll tell you what your installed RAM is.
Install RAM is 8 GB.
Okay, well that's the minimum, and that should work.
It says 7.47 gigabytes is usable.
Yeah, and that should be enough.
It says 3 gigahertz, 64-bit operating system.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a pretty decent computer.
Yeah, no. So I would go through the reinstallation process.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we're recording this for Anya because Anya will be able to, once I post it, she'll be able to get the closed captioning of our meeting. And if she has any questions, she can always type her questions through the chat system.
Are you going to be able to see our screen at all, or is it just video?
Only if I give you control. This is I have provided the ability that you can share your screen if you ask for the capability. So, but like for example, I can share, since I've got multiple windows open, if you hit the share button, I can share any of the current screens that I'm currently working in. The thing is, once I share it, like you can see my Inventor share right now
Right.
with that.
So real quick to make sure I'm even doing it right, when I'm going to do these holes like the UNFs, and where would I go to do that? Just to make sure I'm doing it right. I'm not.
So let me go ahead and open up an assembly, because you actually want to use the Content Center to import the, to create the hole. Let's go ahead. I'm going to get a couple of errors on this thing with some of my XML stuff. So when you're doing holes in a part and setting up, so I'm using the new 2020 version of the software, just FYI.
It looks pretty similar.
It is extremely similar. I'm just going to move my colors are a little bit different. Menu system is a little bit cleaner and more visible.
It looks crisper.
Yeah, but it's also good for presentation. Right now, I got it set in centimeters. That's okay. And I'll just do a simple extrusion on this and we'll create a hole. So we've got a block, and this will give us the ability to produce holes. So when you do the hole command, and you select a location, okay, in the hole command here, you've got the ability to do a tapped hole, and that's where you
Right.
can set up. I don't have my thread data loaded, so
That's
if you
where
get,
I've been going, and that's where it's not giving me the option
yeah,
for.
so you can see where I'm getting an error message. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to reinstall the 2020 because it's telling me that it can't find the thread information. So I'm going to go ahead and launch my 2019 version and go that direction. So this is why we do a test before we actually have to do all the class stuff.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and launch 2019. And you can have both 2019 and 2020 installed on your system. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. But that means that I'm going to need to make sure that my 2020 system is up to date here. So that's a new task that I have to add to my list to make sure that I repair.
Yeah, like I said, today I'm gonna go get a new USB stick or something to get rid of all my. I still have all my papers and stuff from the last year or so in school on the hard drive. If I get rid of all that, you think that'll help out?
Well, the space wasn't an issue, so that's not the issue. I
Okay.
think it's a situation of a reinstall.
Okay.
Memory, the 8 megs is the minimum amount of memory that you can use, which is fine. It's just that just needs to be. You can't have anything else running when you're running Inventor, basically. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll reshare my screen. And let's see which one are we going to do. Inventor 2019, we'll share 2019. And different definitions, okay. So we'll try this again. We'll see what happens here. And so basically, I've got some setup stuff that I need to do with my 2020. So we've got our block, and now when we do a hole and we select threading, it'll come up and give us the thread information.
Right.
So if you're not getting that, then you need to do the reinstall, which is what I'm going to do with Inventor.
It's giving me some of it, but not what you're asking for.
Okay. So for example, it'll say like number 832. That's
Right.
one of the most common ones that we have in our ArborPress environment, is that it's an 832 hole. So there are different designations, and what you may have to do is actually look up in a design chart what a number 8 diameter hole is. As we have the ability to choose different sizes, we can scroll and you can see, oh, well, number 8's a 0.164 diameter hole. So an 832 is a unified national course hole. And so what this will do is this will produce that threaded hole. And if we say that we're going to go through the whole part and choose OK, what's going to happen is you're going to get this little bitmap image to show like it's threaded. It's not truly threaded, but it looks like it's threaded as part of that design. So the key thing with the hole, and we can go ahead and edit the hole again, the key thing with the hole is choosing the right diameter hole. And so in this case, most of our screws in the ArborPress are number 8. And so you'll find the actual number size hole available as part of that list.
Yeah, it wasn't giving me any of those. It was only went up to like they were doing like halves, and it definitely wasn't giving me all those options.
Yeah, so again, you might want to do a reinstall just to make sure that it's installed. And that's, like I said, what I'm going to do with my 2020 version.
All right, that's no big deal. It took me a couple days just to download it.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not it's not a small download, and it's not a simplistic install, but it does work. And once it's installed, you have that ability to go into the apps area to select the Inventor app, and then it'll pop up a screen to allow you to repair or reinstall.
No, it wasn't that. It was just when I went to download it, I was waiting for the email to say that I could to log into it.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened in the process, so it took like a day or two for someone to contact me about it. They got it fixed, but it took a couple days to get it fixed.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens at times. So other questions, because that's kind of what I wanted to use today is kind of the test the system before we actually have to go live on Monday next week. I'm the technology I knew was going to work well. I just wanted to make sure that that the students had the ability to test this out and get any Q&A answered. The cool part about this is that you can actually, like in the chat window and stuff, we can work in the chat window too. And so what was happening,
See if I can get you on my TV.
And so what can happen, and we can test this, is that in your Zoom bar, and there's a Zoom bar that you can see. So if you don't hear anything, so we don't hear anything, we are definitely talking.
There you go, 65 inches right there.
There you go. That's one large monitor.
Yes, that's awesome.
But no, we want to make sure to work out any of the bugs that we have and processes, and that's the option. So you should be able to, like, for example, I'm typing to Anya here to answer some of her questions.
Would you mind when you get a chance? Because on the ArborPress, I'm having trouble with the like drawing that one circle with all the holes in it, like this one.
Oh, yeah, we can work on that.
That's the one where you got to pull the plane up on the side to add those crooked holes, ain't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so the key is, all right, so the issue with the handle hub, and that's the other cool thing, is that I can switch between my share. Let me see if I've got the ArborPress open in a PDF file. I do. So I can switch between the share. So if I can share screen, this is another window I've got open, so I can actually share. So now you can see the handle hub that I've shared. So your questions are about the handle hub on what aspect of it?
Just like how you know where to put the holes.
Oh, so how to locate where the holes go?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can do a demo on that particular process of, the key is on the location is setting up the work planes to locate where the holes are. And so you need to set up multiple work planes to locate the center line of each of the holes. That is the overall task. To make that happen, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
I like that I can record your lectures up by doing this.
Yeah, so I'm actually recording this, and so what I'll do is I'll send a share. So on your Zoom screen, let me see here. Let's see if I can share that part. If it shares, nope, it will not share that part of my Zoom screen. We'll go back to screen number 1. Okay, cool. So the okay, let's go and we'll delete this extrusion and everything associated with it. We'll just start a new part. So with the handle hub, I'm just going to sketch something out here that vaguely resembles a hub style part. And we'll make this perpendicular to keep those square. Dimensions, that 1 inch, that 1 inch. And we'll set the angle on these. Oops. Let's undo that dimension. We're going to need a bigger surface here, so this is going to be smaller. There we go. And we'll set this up. And all I'm going to do is dimension this to 0, so that way it repositions it appropriately in our shape. Okay, so we've got a basic shape that we're going to revolve here. And the key is, I want to make sure, stop share. Okay, cool. The key is that we're going to finish the sketch, and then we're going to revolve this and around the axes. So we've created our shape. So once we have the shape created, obviously we know that we can't just put holes on these surfaces easily. So we do the axis command to send the axis through the center. And so we've got an axis location. We'll then do a plane through the axis. And using the origin on the browser, we have to choose the plane that we're going to be working in. And I'm going to choose the YZ plane. The YZ plane will then pop up and say, all right, I want to rotate 90 degrees. Well, 90 degrees is the brown one because it's rotating from the blue location. So I'm going to set it as 0 initially. So that is our base working plane. So let's say, for example, if you're looking at the handle hub, you know, that could be the plane where the 2 holes line up this particular plane. Okay, since it's circular, it doesn't really matter where that location is to start with. However, the other holes have to correspond to that location. So if we're thinking about that as the option, that the holes have to be aligned opposite each other, and again, one of the holes is the set screw hole, the other one is one of the holes for the handle. If this is going to become a handle location, we know that the process to set the handle location is to get the projection of the angled line. I need to move this out of the way so I can get to my little house button. So the projection of the angled line to the sketch that I've placed on the work plane. I finished that sketch. We create a new work plane on that line to the surface. And now I can create a new sketch on that operating environment, project that line geometry. Again, I'm going to go to the isometric view so I can select that line specifically. And then I can put a point on that line or next to it. And we know that on our drawing that that point is actually in the midpoint of that surface. And so now that I've got a midpoint on that surface, now I can draw a hole. So I finish the sketch, create the hole command. The hole's going to be based on that point. However, you'll notice that the hole's pointing in the wrong direction. So that's the big caveat that you have to worry about when you do this, is that you have to change the direction of the hole. And this particular hole can be any size. I'm going to choose 1/4 inch. It's going to be threaded. It's going to have a depth. And so it's going to have a specific depth. And I think that particular hole, let me see here. It's on the other page for the depth information. So that is 330. And so depth is, we'll say, 1/2 inch. For that, the threaded area will be 1/2 inch total, but realistically, threaded areas are less than that. Again, the idea is that you don't tap the hole all the way to the bottom of the drilled hole environment. So we choose OK, and what will happen is that hole is now created in that location. But we also have another set screw hole that has to start from the opposite end of that first work plane. So using that same knowledge, we're now finished with this hole. We could use the multi-placement circular option to locate that hole where we need to. On the opposite side of work plane 1, we need to create the hole associated with that location. So I'm going to create another sketch on that original work plane, go to the isometric view, flip it around, and project this line. So now, same scenario, we now projected the opposite line from the diagonal originally, because they're both on that same work plane. Same scenario of location. So now I can create and finish the sketch. I can then create a work plane based on this line on that surface. And there we have a work plane directly touching that line. Put a sketch on it. Go back to isometric. Project that line onto the new sketch. And now I can drill a new hole once I have a point location on that position. And again, if it's not directly in the center, we can then dimension it to the edge. Since I positioned it directly in the center, it's not going to allow me to put a dimension in, but you get the idea that if I didn't have it exactly centered, I could actually put a dimension and position that item in a different location. Let's see here. Once that's complete, then we can just put another hole in, and that hole can be put on that. And again, make sure your direction of hole is appropriate. And this one happens to be a larger one, so it could be a 3/8 hole. And the depth of the hole could be to the center of the object and so forth. So you can always look at the top view to make sure that the hole is deep enough. In this case, it is not. So we can make the hole deep enough to go all the way into that. And again, the threading would be less than the overall distance of the hole. So now we have one hole here, and then we've got the opposite hole on this side. So using that one work plane that aligns both those holes, like on the handle hub, and then once we have those holes, we can then actually use the circular option here. Say I want to use the hole. Axes is going to be here, and we only need 3 of those for 360 degrees. So those are now positioned 120 degrees apart. And now we've got our hole positions for those.
You click on circular first and then hit the whole.
Yeah, so you click on circular because circular's the command that allows you to copy it. And then you select the inside of that hole because you want the hole to be copied. And then you select how many you want, and it will actually calculate out the angle between each one.
Okay, well that helped a lot.
But yeah, the key to alignment on there is working with work planes. It's all about work planes. That whole handle hub is to get you comfortable working with work planes. Because that is one of the key components that you're going to need to use as you create more complex shapes, is working with the work plane environments. Other questions? I see that we have some new people that have joined us. Welcome. If you have questions, you can either type in chat in the chat window, or you can turn your microphones on, unmute, and chat directly with me. What I'm also looking at doing is probably going to hold an evening office hour too during the week. Maybe not this week, maybe this week. I haven't officially figured out what my schedule is going to be yet, but we'll probably hold an evening office hour also for people that are still working and need to get some Q&A time. But the idea is starting Monday, we'll start with our class normally at 8:30 in the morning. And I'll send the link out to everybody that is in the MET 1231 courses, both my online and my face-to-face. And so that way anybody can join us. The recordings, that's the other reason why I wanted to do this test. And I'll have to figure out where I'm going to post the recordings. It might be up on YouTube. It may be I might make them private, but send you the links. I may not make them I may not make them a public YouTube video file. If Zoom allows me to send the direct links from the software, we'll work from there also. And again, things may change as Sinclair's bringing Zoom on board this week. This happens to be my personal Zoom account that I use for meetings. So as things get fluid, you'll probably get a new link from me for Monday and beyond with the Sinclair Zoom account and how that's going to work. So yeah, things are in flux. You know, it's kind of unique and different. The good news is that I've been doing online training now for years, so this is a comfortable environment for me to work within. So, other questions?
Are we meeting online on Wednesday or just next Monday?
So I haven't decided that. What do you think? Do we need to meet online on Wednesday? Do we not need to meet online this Wednesday? I'm okay with it. I can definitely meet. I just didn't know, as things are transitioning, for sure we'll meet Monday and Wednesday next week. That's what the school has prescribed for us to do. This week, technically we're closed. However, I wanted to make sure we did some tests and give the opportunity for students to answer questions so you don't lose the whole week of potential work on projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I needed, I think, was just the holes. Then I just got to turn everything into a PDF.
Yeah, so the big thing is turning it, let's see, okay, there I go. I can hear myself in my headset now. Yeah, the big thing is that once you create the individual parts, assemble them, the big component about the assembly is using that new spur gear, because the old spur gear, the gray spur gear, is one that has a different diameter hole in the middle. I think it's 0.257, and it throws everything off on the shaft and the handle hubs to operate in the animation. And so my guess is that we'll probably go through another animation presentation coming up here to show everybody how to do animation.
That's what I was hoping for. I remember clicking on, you know, this part, or you know, this side of the part would connect to this side of the part. And I remember how to do all that, but I just.
Well, I think last week when we were in class, I walked actually through the whole animation of the Arbor Press in physical class, and I do have videos on it on my YouTube channel, so it's there too.
Okay.
That might
That'll
be
work.
something that we'll visit in one of our upcoming sessions here. Couple of things. Let's see here. On Saturday, I had a 5-hour meeting on Zoom, and so that was way too long. And so my goal is to keep our meeting times about an hour and a half, unless there's a significant amount of Q&A. So what I've discovered is there's a certain point of time that doing this online instruction has effectiveness, and then after that amount of time, it becomes problematic. Even with a wireless headset like I have, it became very difficult to participate in the meeting when the meeting ran nearly 5 hours long. So there are limitations of this technology and people's focus. Just like in class, we run about an hour and 15, 20 minutes before we take a break. Same thing has got to happen here. We need to be able to take breaks and work on that component. But being available, I'll be available through email, obviously, as I have been. That part isn't going to change. Use the eLearn email. That will definitely keep a record of it for you and for me. So in case there's any issues that arise in the future, you can say, hey, I've got it, and go from there. Let's see here. I'm trying to think. The other thing that I wanted to test, and I'm not sure. Interesting. So if I want to share, continue to share that screen. Okay, so you can still see my screen. I can pause the share, or I can stop the share. So once I stop the share, on the bottom in this window, you should have, if you're having audio issues, obviously you can click on the mute. I wish I could share this screen. Let's see here. Will Zoom allow me to share this screen? I don't think I can share. Oh, I can. So let me share my screen one. Oh, but as soon as I share that, you only get the Inventor program. You don't get the Zoom screen. But under Zoom, there's an arrow next to your microphone button that allows you to do